Tracy to kids. Tracy to kids. Come in, kids. Come in, kids. It's here at last, the new Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio that keeps you in constant touch with your buddies. Easy to work. Up antenna, switch on, press talk button, and you broadcast from room to room, and even house to house. No wires needed, yet voices travel back and forth. Radio on the open road from one bike to another, or when out hiking.
Dad, I found a bear's cave.
Be right down, son.
The powerful, fully transistorized Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio is a real electronic instrument.
Make sure all the fellows get their A-OK Dick Tracy wrist radio so they can keep in touch. Over and out.
The one and only Dick Tracy wrist radio wherever American toys are sold.
The Grenke Chess Classic, February 2nd through February 9th, 2015. World-class tournament. World champion Magnus Carlsen is there. Also, Anand, former world champion, is there. Many other great players. Levin Aronian, great world-class player. Mickey Adams from England. Fabiano Caruana, Italian-American. Nadich, top German player. Don't miss any of the action. And here are the standings after 6 rounds in the Grenke Chess Classic 2015. Nadich and Carlsen tied at 4. Fabiano Caruana at 3.5. Bacro at 3, as well as Aronian and Adams. Anand with 2.5. And poor Baramidze with 1 point, 2 draws. Oh well. Anyway, that's the standings after 6 rounds in the Grenke Chess Classic 2015. Hi folks, John Cordisco here. Another game from round 6 of the Grenke Chess Classic 2015. White, Anand from India, former world champion, needs no introduction in the chess world. And David Baramidze is black. I'm not sure. David, I believe he's German. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's an interesting game. Let's get to it. Anand is white. Baramidze, I believe it's pronounced as black. It's going to be a real OP. No Berlin. Yay! D6. C3. Now, I've always wondered about this part in the game. Why doesn't black pin this knight? And you never see it at the higher level. Like I'm looking at the computer off screen and, well, bishop g4 now is the #1 move for black. But h6 and castles is a very close second. It would be incredibly annoying to me, but black castles, and then white goes h3. It always seems to be the order. Maybe somebody can comment in the comment section, explain to me why it shouldn't be reversed. Knight to b8. He decides to put the knight back on b8. Why? I don't know. Maybe he's trying to move the c-pawn. That's a big tempo, especially at the beginning. And Vichy goes d4 right away. Then he goes the knight there instead. Knight comes up. Bishop e7. Bishop c2. This tucks the bishop back. That also is the computer move. So this is obviously book. Rook e8. Knight f1. Now this must be a different variation than normal. He goes bishop f8. The computer likes d5 and g6. Knight g3, of course. That was the point of putting the knight on f1. g6. a4. So we're going right along here. Bishop g7. Now, that's a lot of tempos waited. He rerouted this knight from here to here to here. I just don't like the idea he didn't go bishop b7. That g-pawn shouldn't have been moved. That's just me. Bishop d3, c6. And that's the last book move according to the computer. Bishop e3. So, this is pretty much standard stuff. Half a pawn advantage for white in the computer. A lot of tension in the center still. Or at least two bishops. Knights. This night, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Pardon my arrows there, they're a little crazy. Queen E7, excuse me, C7. And then Queen D2, typical. I do that myself. The Queen Bishop battery to try to get rid of the dark squared bishop. Finally get a pawn take, C takes, and then C5. Now the computer did that. It's showing that black's ganging up on the E4 pawn. Pretty funny. It actually says in the computer here, pawn on E4, live or die, it says. That's pretty funny. D5 just shuts that right down. Bishop F4 is what the computer really liked. But Vichy went D5, who am I to question Vichy? None, you're kidding, right? C4, pushing that bishop back. Rook and E to C8. Now, if these pawns end up getting changed over, you got two pawns coming down here. I wonder how that's going to work out for black. A takes. C3. Interesting, interesting. B takes. Knight takes D5. And you see, of course, what's coming here. It's got the bishop bearing down. E takes, bishop takes, queen of D1, takes the rook in the corner. Queen takes, A takes. Now what we have here, folks, is a weird balance of two pieces, a bishop and a knight, versus a rook and a pawn. Now normally two pieces against the rook and a pawn is pretty good advantage. It's less than a pawn advantage on the computer. Computer thought was worth looking at, but here's the problem. If queen takes, bishop H6, and you have to go pawn here, and then rook D7, and that's just asking for trouble. Asking for trouble. White's down the exchange, but has all the play. But after A takes, queen of D4, now computer really didn't care for the next move. It likes queen to C4, queen to C5, or queen takes C2 again. Queen to C3 instead. And that jumped up pretty good. It's about a 2-point advantage now for white. White just ignores it. Queen takes. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Knight takes D6. We're back at two pieces and for a rook and a pawn. What to do? What to do? Vichy's got a lot of minor pieces to play with. He's got 4 of them. Rook to C5. You gotta get those rooks active. If you're going against two pieces, you can't just let them sit and let those pieces just surround you and smother you. Knight takes. Rook to A2. I don't know. Rook to A2. Bishop H6. I don't understand that move. It confines the king. That's true. I can appreciate that, but black's going to eventually go here anyway, and the king's going to get out. Rook A8. Doesn't look like black knows what to do, to tell you the truth. It's about a 2.5-point advantage for white. Bishop to D3. Rook to D8. I mean, I would hate to play this game from either side. To coordinate all those minor pieces. Granted, all the pawns are on the same side, so it might be a little easier. But I'll tell you, I don't know. Those knights are dependent on each other. We'll see what white does here. Bishop G5. Hitting the rook. Rook moves. Bishop to A8. Now, I went over this game earlier, and maybe I'm an idiot, but I like rook to E7. It's not even one of the top. Well, now it's the number 2 choice in the computer. So I actually guessed a fairly decent computer move, so yay for me. Instead of rook to A8, Peter thought maybe F6. Bishop backs up, and then the rook double up the rooks. Might have been interesting. After rook to a8, bishop b7, hitting the rook. Rook comes back. They're tired of getting harassed. All those minor pieces are just harassing the crap out of those rooks. Knight to d6. Rook to c7. Computer shows a decent advantage for white, but how does white make any progress? And this is my toughest thing when I'm playing, is I just can't seem to get my crap together and try to coordinate the pieces. Knight goes there. Bishop to b5 might have been interesting, and then h5. But the knight goes there. Rook c6. Good Lord. Try to figure this out. Way too much traffic. Bishop f1. Just to get the bishop out. We're still guarding the knight on b5 and just getting out of the e-file for the rook. Rook to a4, what the computer calls for. But I think black miscues again. King to g7. And it's creeping up the advantage. These aren't huge blunders. They're just very strong inaccuracies. And slowly but surely. But how are you going to get through? Going to get one of those deals where it's a rook against two minor pieces at the end? Which is a draw. As soon as you take one of the minor pieces, it's a draw. If rook had gone to a4 instead after bishop g5, bishop e6, king h2, it still sucks for black, but not nearly as bad. After g7, g4. Computer liked knight to d4 better than after a rook to c7, bishop g5, rook c5. I mean, I'm not going to criticize anybody here. I mean, this damn thing is so complicated. I'm going to go the next few moves fairly quickly. I mean, this is a fairly long game, believe it or not. I know, and this is one of the things I feel bad for black, because I've been in this spot before where you've got to try and play your best just to draw. I mean, it really sucks. After f6, g5, rook b8, h4. We're going to see a lot of maneuvering here. h5 doesn't take. f5. Bishop goes back to f1. These like Vichy can't figure out how to get through to this. And I'll tell you the truth, I can't figure it out either. King, rook d1. Black's just happy just to sit, because he'd settle for a draw easily. Bishop f3. Rook a1. Bishop d5. And Vichy needs this win desperately. Lost the last two. And this young man is playing black's the lowest rated player in the tournament. f4. Pawns are all locked up now. Knight to c5. Here we go. Rook to d1. We finally see some movement. Bishop to f3. He's just going to park that bishop there, I guess. On g4. Bishop to c4. King moves. Rook f1. I mean, we're just going round and round here. I mean, I feel bad for both of these guys, frankly. Knight to d4. Vichy has to have this win. Lose two in a row and then draw the lowest rated person in the tournament really would suck. Then I think we're on move 51. I think black miscues again. Rook to c7. Going after the bishop. This doesn't seem like that bad of a move, but now it's an over 4-point advantage. Knight to c3 is what the computer liked. Oh, excuse me. Rook c to b6 is what the computer liked. And after rook f1, rook b4, and black fights on. But after rook to c7, finally a minor piece gets exchanged. Pawn takes. Bishop f6. Rook. It's a lot easier now. There's a minor piece missing from both sides. A lot more open area. A lot more coordination of the pieces. Knight to e6. Looks like black's finally moving in. White's moving in. The black king. Rook to b1 check. Rook takes. King g2. There we go. A lot more simplified. But is that pass pawn for black going to make it? Let's see. Rook to b8. King f1. I mean, this is so complicated. None of the players are using the computer moves. Rook c8. Bishop comes up, hitting the pawn. Rook hits the knight now. Can't take the pawn because the knight will drop. Bishop b5. blocking off the rook some more. Rook c8 is trying to get in desperately. King e2, bringing the king up. Here we go. Knight c5. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes. We got two bishops and a pawn against the rook. It's just a matter of technique now and just slowly turning the screws. Rook to a5. King comes up. Rook to a3 check. King to d4. Rook to a5. Pawn. And that's finally where black says, oh, the hell with it. We're on move 65. If I've been sitting there for 5 hours, that's enough. I can't take the torture anymore. After f5, rook checks, king goes to e3, g takes, bishop takes, king to g8, g6. It's just over. There's nothing that black can do. It doesn't have enough forces. Anyway, folks, so a win for Anand. Good for him after losing 2 in a row. So congratulations, Fishy. That's another game from round 6 of the Grenke Chess Classic 2015. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank all my new subscribers. Got quite a few in the last 30, 40 days. More than I've ever gotten in a 30 or 40 day period. Thank you very, very much. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.